This is what happens. Yeah. Okay. We're actually going live, and I'm glad I caught this before we got into the questions. You guys just missed all of our banter about our early morning episode, but you guys caught it on Coach Mohammed's page, so that's the benefits you get for following him. So we've got some questions. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get to all of these, but let's tell you what. You choose your favorite one first. I know my favorite one.
Let's start with yours. I'm still waking up.
Okay.
I'm in slow motion.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's start with how much do I need to train? That's an easy one.
Okay.
That's a really easy one. How much do I need to train?
So whenever
Jiu-Jitsu, we're talking about Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-Jitsu,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, whenever I say the word Jiu-Jitsu, obviously our goal as coaches, we just want people to be active.
Sure.
All right. We know probably the best activity that they could do to be active. You and I know the benefits of Jiu-Jitsu are like, they far outweigh going to the gym and lifting weights. You and I know that. But when I say Jiu-Jitsu, I say fitness or just exercise. But how much do I need to train? I would say if you take going to Planet Fitness, crunch or raise the bar.
I really like raise the bar.
Raise the bar.
Like, and they're not even paying me to say that. I really like that.
Yeah.
Continue.
Good gym. So like if you say, all right, man, I'm going to get on this routine. I'm going to go twice a week. Are you going to get in shape? A little bit.
I mean, you'll get some results. A lot of it's your diet, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 2 days a week, whether you go do cardio, whether you lift weights, if you just go 2 days a week, I mean, you can get some results. You'll probably start to feel better in your body, and like it's going to be asking for a little bit more. So I would say at a minimum, to make some changes in your life, physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, because they all work together, right? I would say at least 3 days a week.
And like just exercise, like physical exercise or jiu-jitsu itself?
Well, I mean, at a minimum, like you can get the job done. It's just going to take so much longer. I'd say 2 days a week. But you know what? To be realistic, to make some changes in your life and have them be impacted because of jiu-jitsu, I'd say 3 days a week. 2 days, you can get the job done.
Okay.
But at a minimum, I think, like anything else, 3 days a week is probably the best place to start. What do you think?
Yeah, well, the more the better. I mean, the more the better. Like I always think of it as like I was talking with a parent yesterday, and they're like, "Yeah, we can get 1 day in for their kid." I was like, "All right." I was like, 1 day a week. Well, that means you got 6 days to unlearn it. You got 6 days to unlearn and jiu-jitsu's like working out is different than jiu-jitsu, because working out, it's I mean, there's some mental aspect to it, but jiu-jitsu is far more mental, like by far. So to like the cognitive part of it is huge. And so I would say 2 days, really just so that like you can start to see improvement, which will help you to continue to train. Like it's like jiu-jitsu, even if you're training 2 days a week, you will see improvement, but like it's gonna be a little bit demoralizing when people who start after you training 5 days a week surpass you. I saw that happen pretty much like my entire jiu-jitsu career. Like people would start after me, or people would come. I'd been training like 4 or 5 years, and they'd be training like 1, and they were just physical freaks, and then like they would be giving me trouble, and I was like, well, what's going on? But I also trained like 2 days a week, and they trained more. So
isn't that annoying?
Very annoying
when you're training and you've been here so long, and then like some new people come in, and they start to put in like 6 months or a year, and it's like, oh my God, I freaking stink because I can't handle dealing with these people who've been here just like a year, half the time as me. That's been so annoying.
It's annoying, but I'm a testament, and I say this like I'm gonna brag on my unathleticism for a second. Like I'm a testament of like where you keep showing up, and that's where jiu-jitsu thrives. Like I those people over the years, those people came and went.
Yeah.
And now, like, we're in Downriver, which is like meathead wrestling country. And like, I remember when we first opened, the size of these humans that were coming in here, I was like, dude, like,
Yeah.
where are they coming from?
I
So
know.
like, and now, you know, it really doesn't matter the size, because granted, I've got 13 years. That's what it took to like not get manhandled.
Yeah.
But even at like 4 or 5 years, it's really tricky. Like, because I wasn't athletic, I wasn't super physical, and so like that's why when parents have like really nerdy kids,
Yeah.
and like they're like, I had a parent last night, they're like, oh, he's all skin and bones. I was like, great.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, you don't understand how perfect that is for jiu-jitsu.
You know who sticks out to me when you say that is little Camden.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
he's gotten good.
Yeah, and he's what is he, like 12?
He's probably 14 now.
Yeah, I remember when one of our students came in. When he first came in, his son was hiding behind a chair and wouldn't even be included in the conversation. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it was at GNC. We were doing enrollments at GNC, and he was literally hiding behind the chair. He was so antisocial, and now, like, he's still young, 14 years old, and he's in the adult class now, but now he has like confidence to like just stand up and be around adults. And for someone like him, he's coming so long.
Yeah. So, like, that's a perfect example.
And he wasn't like an athletic kid to begin with, you
right?
Know? So, yeah, you just show up.
Just keep showing up, right?
Yeah. On. There's more to that, but that's for another day.
Okay, so on the topic, so that was one of your questions. So, what's your opinion on ADD or ADHD?
First of all, I believe ADHD is all caused by this in the video games. I honestly believe that it's all caused by this in the video games. So when you talk about ADHD and you talk about that, there's a couple things you have to make that happen. A busy mom and dad. As Americans, we work our asses off morning till night. All right. So, people internationally think you come to this country, and then as soon as you get off the plane, here's a bag of money for you. Here's a bag of money for you. Is
that they still believe that?
They still
even
believe
what they
that.
see on the news?
Oh, he's from America. They got money.
Okay.
So, moms and dads, in America, like both mom and dads are working and, grinding. So as a culture, we work a lot. That takes away from being around the kids. So I believe a couple things have to be in place. Mom and dad have to be working a lot. Mom and dad don't have as much physical time to give the kids. What's the supplement? The phones and the video games. And the kids are amazing at focus and dialing in on very, very specific stuff for hours at a time. So when I hear ADHD, I believe it's all caused by video games and phones. So that's my initial. When you ask me, what about ADHD? What is it? Is it like, oh my God, like, my son, you don't just get it. It's a learned behavior. So, I have gone through periods. It's like where I'm a prisoner to my phone.
Sure. I think we all have. Where you've been caught. I was like, and I've gotten better with it, but I'll be like, I've literally gone to post something in the group or post something on the page, and like before I can hit that, I was like, frick, like I'll get caught, but like I'm self-aware enough to realize I got caught. But sometimes it's like 4 or 5 minutes, like I just scroll and I was like, frick,
So how so I mean, what's your opinion on that? And I have mine.
Yeah.
So okay, a kid has ADHD, and one of the things I learned about a conference I went to years ago is like it's bullshit. ADHD, they want to label you. The doctors want to label you, and immediately they want to get you on these medications, right?
Sure.
So somehow in the medical system, there's some type of like evolution and flowing of prescribing and how the medical system benefits to labeling and putting somebody down the path of ADHD.
I can't tell you why, but I mean, I agree. I don't believe ADD, ADHD exists as what is it? As a condition, as an illness. I mean, you're going to tell me like literally like you're going to tell me half of our families who come in here and they say their kids either diagnosed, undiagnosed with ADD, ADHD.
Yeah.
Half the population
No.
like because I think what we need to do is we need to define what that is. And if you're going to define a kid like reading some of the symptoms, like, energetic, trouble focusing, more like super hype. Those are children.
That's
That's a child.
That's exactly what I say to the parents who come in. My son won't sit still. He's always active. He's got a lot of energy. And I'm like, well, sounds like a normal kid.
That's a child. And what they want to hear, so I think we all in 2020, we realized just how terrible adults were at sitting still for 8 hours in front of a screen, to be quote unquote productive. Yeah. So we can talk about how productive the 8 hour workday actually is at a later time. But if you're dealing with something, because it's hard for a doctor to say, and I don't even know if they're legally allowed to say this, but if you come to the doctor and say, hey, my kid's having trouble focusing. I had this conversation with a parent. She was almost in tears yesterday because I see him struggling to focus. And my first result is cool. What's the teacher doing? How are you teaching?
Yeah.
How are you teaching? Because I was half tongue in cheek. I was like, that's strange. He doesn't have trouble focusing in my jiu-jitsu class.
And it's way more demanding.
So it's wild. So I think a lot of that is played on if you're dealing with the teachers, it's the skill of the teachers and the techniques they're using, and it's also the doctor can't blame it on the parents. What you said at the beginning, you're like, hey, it's caused by busy lifestyle, too busy for the kids. Amanda and I were having this conversation, and I'm hyper committed to spending time with my kids and whatnot. Even I'm guilty. I'm like Scarlett's asking, and I'm like, I'm off. It's David, please pay attention to her. I was that, and that happens regular. And they pretty much follow me like little ducklings when she's not at school. They just kind of come here. If I have to go to the store, they follow me. But I'm around my kids a lot. Yeah. But to say, it's not a popular opinion to say that ADD, ADHD it's a lifestyle problem. One, it's natural. It's natural for your kid not to focus. But two, it's kind of a lifestyle problem. It's not the answer is not to start prescribing kids these drugs. It's what they are at 8 years old.
Yeah.
And remember
it's essentially speed.
Yeah. And you remember the first time we had summer camp, they're like, okay, mom's so he needs these meds at noon. And I'm not going to drug a kid. I was she needs these meds at noon for, whatever. I was cool. Do I have to give them to him? She's like, oh, you don't have to. You just have to deal with him if you don't. I said, sweet. All right. I'll hang on to him. But, so I get into, we didn't give him this medication the entire summer.
Yeah. Parents would have never believed that.
Yeah. I was I gave them all back to her. I was here you go. He didn't need them. And she was like, wow, I don't know how you guys do it. But I don't think the answer is, I think it's natural. And I think each kid's different, but it's been around. We're trying to label it. It's like alcoholism. Someone's naturally born and there's nothing you can do. You just develop a need to go drink a fifth of Jack. I'm just here and then I catch this disease. No, you go and it's a lifestyle. It's an active sort of choice. It's an active choice to address that ADD, ADHD. Next question. What if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments as well. Stacy's got one. Says, I believe there's a chemical imbalance that people might have that gives them problem focusing, but I believe the imbalance is never strong enough where it actually causes a life problem where medication is needed. With all the digital screen simulation we have created, we have created what we call ADD, ADHD. It's the ideas and parents who are making this problem. Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly what we just said. When you're conditioned, did you know it's illegal? Maybe someone fact check me on this. TV commercials have to be a minimum length.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like it has to be like you can't do a 10-second TV commercial. It's against the rules because it would be too effective. Like if you were to show 3 10-second commercials, that would subliminally influence you and your attention way more than 1 30-second commercial.
Yeah. Well, look at Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets so expensive, but that's part of the reason.
Yeah,
why they do
right.
those 10 and 15-second commercials.
All right. And
did we answer Stacy's question?
She was just saying, it wasn't a question more. She's like, I believe it's a chemical imbalance. She said, I believe certain people, essentially what she's saying is more people may struggle to focus than others, none of which demands medicine. And a lot of it is caused by your attraction to your time spent in front of a screen. Like if you look at kids shows, even social media, we know when we make videos, when you guys see a video from us, how long do we have to catch someone's attention? Seconds. You have 3 seconds or 5 seconds to catch someone's attention.
Yeah.
5 seconds. And then we're surprised when you or your kid can't sit for a 1 hour, 2 hour lecture or a 1 hour, 2 hour seminar, 1 hour, 2 hour meet or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's a state.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in closing with that on the ADHD, as adults, when we get older and we cannot focus, and we have we have the ADHD as adults, it comes down to one word. It comes down to focus and what are we working on?
Priorities. Absolutely.
And we're trying to do too much stuff at one time. So as adults, if we look at it as look at adults and kids, we're trying to do too many things at one time. So what we need to do as adults is slow down, really prioritize is what is important for me and my future right now. And that's what I should be doing today, right? There's a lot of things we could be doing, but we just got to chunk away and do one task and one activity at a time to help meet whatever our goal is.
So Mindy says on that same topic, it's a good topic. What do you do when a child comes to you, though? It feels like it's a constant struggle to focus. So essentially, he's coming to me worried about it. I will never have my kids tested. I don't want to ignore that he's coming to me asking for help. So I believe that, again, depends on the area or the field. So I believe as coaching, when we coach, that one coach Jiu-Jitsu, one thing I really like to know is what each person's background, what their life experience is, what they do for a living, whatever. So Coach Mohammad, who's a supplement guy, fitness guy, he's going to understand things so when I talk about doing this, he's going to understand. I was like, it's just like an upright row. He's going to understand that. Someone who doesn't work out, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But if I go like this and someone's a hunter, I'm going to say it's just like pulling back a bow. So you have to kind of speak their language a little bit and say, if he's having trouble focusing. So let's say it's math, I'm going to say, okay, well here, depending on what the math is, use get food involved. Well here, we did this yesterday in the after school program. Yeah. If I have half a pizza and I cut it down the middle, or if I have a whole pizza and I cut it down the middle and I give you a slice and me a slice, how much do each of us have? So 1/2. Okay. Yeah. Now if I do it again, how much do each of us have?
Quarter.
Yeah, quarter. Just things like that to kind of make it. We were literally at the school yesterday. The teachers at the school, I'm not going to name the school. They're like, hey, we had to wait a few minutes. She was helping the kid with a problem. And I was like, you're such an angel. That's nice of you to help him. She's like, yeah, I can help him with the old math. I don't know anything about this new math with the circles and squares that they're doing. And we were all just laughing. So it goes back to the teaching, not saying you're a bad teacher, Mindy, but it goes back to the teaching and communicate in a language in which they can understand, because I guarantee there's something they can focus on. People focus on what they're interested in. Yeah. Guaranteed. I know Bentley. You start talking to him about Pokemon cards, he's going to perk up. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I know he was. We were talking about it in cards the other day. So what they're interested in, make it interesting.
Yeah. And, letting kids know that you are patient with what they're going through at that time.
100%.
Yeah. So my daughter lost her keys last night at a sporting event, and she didn't want anybody to stay with her because she didn't want to burden anybody. And just as parents, we had to remind her she's really upset. It's okay. Like this kind of stuff happens. It
yeah.
wasn't the time.
I lose stuff all the time.
Yeah, it wasn't the time to like to yell at her and be like, what is your problem? You're forgetting stuff.
Yeah.
That wasn't the time. It was the time to say, it's okay. She was going through a tough time, be there for her. And then, when I get the right opportunity, like picking my shots,
Yeah, right.
I'm going to really hit her with it. But, when they're going through it, you just got to be patient and understand that, age as they grow up from week to week, month to month, year to year, they're going through a lot of changes in the world, and it's a lot to absorb for a kid nowadays.
I agree. And I'll also add, really, really end with this. When someone gets labeled, that becomes part of their identity, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
You know what? I need you to take these pills, buddy, because you have ADHD, you have this condition, and you have trouble focusing. Okay, so it's not your fault, but you have trouble focusing. You have trouble focusing, and I know you have trouble focusing. So it's because you have trouble focusing. What's that kid gonna think?
I got trouble focusing.
I got trouble focusing. So it's not my fault. And regardless of whatever the meds do or do not do, like that. I've been going heavy on the brain and the mind, man. And if you while it's not like a name it and claim it thing, but what you believe can play a huge part in your reality.
100%.
If I believe I'm broke, you're going to make decisions that keep you broke.
Yeah.
If I believe I have trouble focusing, you're going to make decisions that aren't conducive to being hyper focused.
Yeah.
So hope that helps. If you guys have any, we kind of beat that to a pulp. So if you have any other questions, answer them. We'll answer them in the comments later. You choose the next one, Coach. We won't be able to get to all these. We got 8 more.
Okay.
Choose the big ones.
All right, we'll do this one. This is one that came through you, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, this was asked to David Fox.
Yeah.
As a jiu-jitsu black belt, what's the number one self-defense? Can you help us elaborate on that question?
Yeah. Self-defense meaning we get this all the time. We talk about self-defense. I believe the number one martial art is jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
But number one personal self-defense is a Glock 19.
Okay.
Period. Now, the problem is it's called a force multiplier for a reason. If you're in a real situation, there's a lot of situations. I've said this. I avoid conflict like the plague.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that could happen out of your control. And it is as reckless and as chaotic as this room may seem when there's 50 dudes in here grappling. It's a controlled environment.
Yeah.
There's mats, there's rules, there's pads. A lot of that doesn't exist in a self-defense scenario. So a firearm is the number one, because especially you don't know what if someone else has a knife or whatever. So, but a lot of people use that as a cop-out to, I don't need jiu-jitsu because I have a firearm. The intangible benefits and things of jiu-jitsu, you're going to be situationally aware. You're going to be able to have the confidence to verbally I think that's huge. Just the you use the term a lot, verbal judo.
Yeah. De-escalate
the situation. Okay. Because even if you rightfully use a firearm, legally, and you didn't use it prematurely and all that, the followings that will happen, they teach you in CPL class, you use it properly, but if you kill somebody with a firearm, a lot of people have to move because it affects them socially. People just they treat you different.
Yeah.
If you're on the news, self-defense, I shoot 2 invaders that. They actually had to move because their friends treated them different. There's huge impact that I think people don't understand when they start waving it around I got a gun.
Yeah. Well, one thing that attorney told me a while back is if you and a friend go outside, in the front of the driveway, in the back of the driveway, or something like that, an average driveway, one person's at the garage, the other person's at the street, and you're throwing a ball. You can legally pull out a gun and shoot somebody if you perceive them to be threatening your life, and legally you're not breaking any law. So it's not we have to be this close and I pull out a gun and shoot him. like legally you could be like, I think it's at least 30 feet.
It's tough to prove that. Like it's tough to. I'm not the lawyer. You got a lot more lawyers in your family, but you have to be able to prove that your life was in danger.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the point is that like a gun in self-defense is such a big responsibility.
Huge.
Yes.
Huge.
So at 25, legally I was able to carry a gun. And it would have been.
Is that the minimum? No, it can't be.
It's 21.
Well, you can own one at 18.
I think 21 you can carry.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, but at 25 years old, I'd say 21, 22, 23, it would have been a bad idea to give me a gun to carry around legally.
Yeah.
It would have been
it's a huge responsibility.
I was not emotionally responsible enough to carry a gun everywhere I went. I would have been an impulsive person. And I don't think that the public, this is just my opinion.
They don't.
I mean, it's hard to put an age on it, but I don't think it's fair to blanketly say at 21 years old, everybody should be legally carried to a gun. There has to be, I just don't think that's a responsible way. And I'm not saying you have to be 25. I'm just saying there's a lot of 21-year-olds that carry, but I know they're like people that I know. You shouldn't be carrying a gun. You're not responsible enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you got a hot head.
And that goes, like we talked about this a while ago, I feel like the overall mental maturity of adults is older, right? Think of the old world, even the Middle East 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
18-year-olds had families.
Yeah.
And they were providers of that family.
Yeah.
And literally. And,
that's fair.
They were so they were much more responsible. Granted, their life expectancy was a little bit shorter, but much more responsible humans at a younger age.
Yeah.
What changed?
Wow, a lot.
The upbringing, the society, the expectation. Imagine, realistically,
expectation of a man.
Honestly, if it was just culturally expected that every man was going to either start paying pretty serious rent to his parents or move out on his own at 18 and a half.
Yeah.
What would that preparation look like? Like now, instead of middle school and high school, and you're worried about all the BS that comes with that, you're like, bro, you need some skills to provide for yourself. We're gonna teach these things. They used to happen.
Yeah,
not as much anymore. I do feel like there's a revolution coming back though.
So if you had the label on one technique, what would it be? If you had to label
takedowns. Takedowns. If you know no jiu-jitsu, and you can get on top of somebody, you're doing better than most.
Okay. So David says number one jiu-jitsu, number one black belt jiu-jitsu in self-defense. David says takedowns, which I absolutely love. I mean, I love. It's such a rush. I would say some type of close guard work.
Sure. It's also really, yeah. I mean, if either it's a close second in my opinion, because close guard, you get taken down.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing in close guard, you get, someone wrestles you, they take you down. If you can get back to close guard, you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Close guard, open guard, some type of guard.
Would you pull guard in the street?
No way. Never.
Ever.
Yeah. If I was in a street fight,
never.
The last thing that I would ever do is pull guard. And if for some reason I was on my back, I'm going immediately.
Doing whatever you can.
I'm going immediately to tear their knees and their ligaments apart if I hit the floor.
Yeah.
That would be my number one goal. Setting up, attacking their feet.
That would be vicious.
Because just a little bit and they can't get up and walk away.
Dude, I know a buddy. I think I told you, I was right down the street at one of these. I don't know. They got in a scuffle, and the dude just went around for an outside reap.
Yeah. And
figure forward and just cranked, and you just heard a 2x4 snap. And the guy just screamed. I don't think anyone ever found out, but he ran away. You won't walk for a year.
Yeah.
You won't want, and that is, so yeah, that's really solid second. All right, so you chose that one. So we've got,
We already got this
let's
one.
yeah, we kind of talked. So relationship, so relationships with your teammates in jiu-jitsu, your jiu-jitsu teammates. Let's talk about, what's the question specifically? Let's talk about that.
The question that came into Coach Mohammad was, can you talk about, like, in jiu-jitsu, it's all about like camaraderie and team. And I was having this discussion with my cousin Omar, and he played college football, college basketball, and I was talking to him about the camaraderie that you build in jiu-jitsu versus other sports, like basketball, football, other stuff. And I'm like, you know what? It's just not the same with jiu-jitsu versus other sports. And then we got to talking a little bit, and he's like, well, man, he started to remind me of the football days, and every position is an individual position, right? Like every position ultimately complements moving the ball forward to score, right? They're all separate positions or separate skill positions. But, after talking to him, I would say one of the closest things is football to jiu-jitsu. We happen to be in football season.
Okay.
As far as, like
So boring.
the team, dude, David,
Gi jiu-jitsu is boring to watch, though. I'll give you that. Gi jiu-jitsu is very boring to watch.
fact, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when I first said to myself, you know what, I'm going to be employed for myself, and that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up my own business. I had no idea what I was doing, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. My number one goal from opening up my own business, I want to be able to watch football on Sundays and just relax. Like, that was my financial goal, to sit back and watch football.
I'm not dogging. To me, it's super boring. Obviously, a lot of people watch it.
Okay. Well, that's why you're on your computer during Super Bowl.
Yeah, that is why, bro.
So, relationships with teammates in jiu-jitsu. So, how are they formed? What kind of relationships do you have with people, and how far do they go? That's kind of the question. So, what's your personal opinion on, you've been training for 14 years?
Probably 13.
Oh.
09 is when I started. So
Okay.
maybe 12, actually. 12.
Okay. So 12, 13 years or whatever. So let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the good part of relationships that come with being involved in something for so long. Talk about the benefits, the good, and what can people, like, what are some good things that can come out of sticking with something so long?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a blog a while back. It's probably actually still on I don't know if it's on our website, but it was like, if I had to put a dollar value on your network of jiu-jitsu, it would be minimum, we're assuming you stay in this for any real length of time, minimum $50,000. And then that's because, like, I've pointed to not just my partnership with Coach Mohammad, but like countless others. I've given the example, like there were contacts I made through that, like, to where I landed like my largest client, or one of my largest clients. So it's not just about the financial, but
let me give a quick example of the financial.
Yeah.
We're in the locker room 2 days ago. All right.
Yeah.
Younger
it's a
guy.
great example.
Younger guy is in the locker room after class, kind of hanging out. I think he was taking notes or something. And we were talking about, I asked him what he did for work or whatever. And then another older gentleman in his like 30s or 40s, they just got to talking, and he didn't like where he was at. And an $18 an hour job just was thrown on his lap with no experience necessary.
Yeah, they'll train you. And that's just an example.
So yeah, that's the financial leads and network that comes with jiu-jitsu is great.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, like, there's no it's instant rapport, like deep rapport. So if I apply for a job, and you're like, you're an employer, and you're looking at, okay, I played football, soccer, all these sports.
Yeah.
You're not like, I want to talk to this dude right now.
Yeah.
But if you're say apply for a job, and you're like jiu-jitsu, be like, call him right now. bring him in. Like
Yeah.
there's like because
So for like equally, it would be like you're doing this job interview, and you see on the application that this guy's a Division I basketball player, Division I football player. Immediately, you're like, whoa, that's like high level. Let me talk to this guy. If we just hear the word that this guy or girl trains jiu-jitsu, we're like, really, I want to talk to them. So I would say it's equal to like a collegiate athlete that has gone through that level of training. It's so intense. There's such a commitment that, like, I want to talk to him. If we just know they train jiu-jitsu, we're like, really? What?
Yeah.
Where? How long?
Yeah.
What about, like, how long's he been training? Where's he training at? Let's talk to him.
Because there's so many, like jiu-jitsu, there's so many positive traits and attributes that are
Hey, Jamie,
that are equated with that. Like if you train jiu-jitsu, again, I'm gonna assume for like some type of length of time, a couple of years at least.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna assume, you are a hard worker.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
You do have a certain base level of mental strength.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
You do have, you do know what it's like to experience failure and keep going.
Yep.
You do know what it's like to learn under somebody, to take instruction.
Yeah.
You do know, like, so all these things, I mean, that alone is going to like put you in the top, 95 percentile for most jobs. Like those alone.
So I'll give an example of how working under pressure translates from jiu-jitsu to not jiu-jitsu. So me and David are position training, right? So we have a team that's going to Worlds next week, right? So we're position training with David this week, right? So David's going, Coach Jabril's going, Coach Farris is going, Coach Jimmy is going. So we have 4 people from our school that are going to the World Championship. So I'm position training with David, right? And he's got a bunch of rounds in, so he's already deep into his workout and he's pretty spent. So his job was to pass my guard, right? So, and we're doing like, short rounds. So we do the first round and Coach David can't pass my guard. So we go back to back. And immediately,
I think I know where this is going.
So
I feel bad about it, but I think I know.
So immediately, like, this just goes to show you how you have to learn to work under pressure. When we go again, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, he is pissed off. I could tell by the way he's moving. He's getting extra aggressive. He's putting heavy pressure on me. So internally, I tried not to let it show on my face. I'm like, oh my God, he's bringing the heat, man. And I just took a deep breath. And I'm like, okay, just relax and focus on what you're supposed to be doing. So, like, the truth is, man, in life, like, everybody and every outside thing that you can't control is going to come at you super hard. And you got to learn to relax and you got to learn to calm down. And, every day that I train is a lesson.
Yeah, sure.
And we talk about relationships in jiu-jitsu, like, you're coming at me and you're really, really going hard. And, like, you're one of my best friends. So it's not like you're trying to kill me. It's like you're trying to achieve your goal and I have to achieve my goal. And a relationship that's built with 2 people that are not doing something personal, they're doing something physical and intellectual at the same time to benefit themselves without any ill harm towards each other, is how a relationship is born.
I thought you were going to talk about, I'm pretty sure I punched you yesterday. Like I was diving for like the DARS and whatever, and your head was in the way and I thought it was going to pass it. So I'm pretty sure I punched you. Your face isn't.
Yeah, that's from somebody else.
Okay, all right,
cool.
But
no.
So,
but that was the least of my worries.
Okay.
I'm like, a punch is all I get, fine. But no, the heat didn't stop. He's coming at me 100%. So
I read is an jiu-jitsu article or something, and it was we talk about this with our kids. They're like, and the article was like, how to know if your training partner's mad at you or something. It was something, and what it was talking about was like, when you go hard like that, and the guys are like, dude, are we cool? And the reality is, you're being a responsible, like, for comp training, of course, but like when you're being a good teammate to when you go that pace with them, like you're not helping anybody letting them pass. You're not helping anybody giving them moves that they really wouldn't have gotten. You're not helping anybody. Yeah. In fact, you're hurting them. Yeah. And so like to kind of like to give to impose your will on your opponent and have them feel like they've got nothing they can do about it. Like, you're helping them. We tell that with the kids. All the parents, like, the other kid was going really hard. what would you like him to do?
Would
you like him to let the other kid win and give him a false sense of security?
You know, for those of you watching that are not that don't have like a deeper understanding of what we do, one of the things that we do in our programs and our kids programs is we tell the kids that if you don't try your best, even if you're losing, you're actually stealing and cheating.
100%. Yeah.
So we use the word stealing and cheating, and we even let the adults know that, because if you're working with a partner, again, everybody has independent goals to achieve at that moment and in their life, but we're all working towards our goals every single day. And if you come to work or you come to the gym and you're working out with somebody and you're not giving your 100%, you're stealing, you're lying, and you're cheating from your partner. And we say that to the kids.
Yeah, you're cheating your partner for sure.
So you have to try your best. You have to try your best, and that's the only way that you can really help the people around you, is if you bring all of the effort that you have. And it doesn't have to be better than the other person, but you just got to bring everything, because hard work never ever gets unnoticed and unrewarded in your life, on the mat and off the mat.
Absolutely. So that's the teammates. And then can I bring up a conversation? It's not about jiu-jitsu, but it was really simple. Rent or own a home?
Okay.
Which one?
I mean, do I not have the money to buy a house? Do I only have the money to rent a house?
Well, okay, we're talking like, obviously everyone's in different positions, but we were talking about the housing market. Big Short, by the way, is an awesome movie about that. But like,
I gotta watch that. I haven't seen it.
Dude, it's got some legit actors in it. It's got Christian Bale. It's got Ryan Gosling. It's got Steve Carell. Like, it's got big names in it. It was just slept on. No one knows about it. But this isn't about the housing market crash. It's just about rent to own. Like,
okay.
Like is there one that's better than the other?
100% own. 100% own. The earlier that you could own a house, the better. The sooner you can, because there's a few reasons, but I'll just name one. I have somebody who works for me, Orlando. All right. And he's making enough money to pay a mortgage on a house in like Lincoln Park, or like, Melvindale, probably even Allen Park, a small house. He's making enough money to do it. And I'm like, look, man, if you have the money to pay for it, number one, you can get some tax write-offs by owning your own home. If you have the money and you're not investing it, like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I don't like, he still lives with his mom, and I think he wants to, and nothing against that, because if my mom would live with me, I would have her tomorrow. I'd love for my mom.
My mom and I had that conversation. It was about something else, but I was like, yeah, you come live with us. I'll build an in-law suite because you'll have your own space. But like, yeah, you can come live with us.
My mom's like, no, I'm not living with you or whatever. But yeah, I think that you add up all the miscellaneous expenses, and it forces you just to budget. And you don't have to be good at money, but if it can force you to budget a little bit, to be responsible about X amount of dollars for owning your own home in 5 years, 10 years, 15 or 20 years or whatever, I think that owning is so critical, like, as soon as it's possible. What's your opinion?
I think I don't think there's I obviously I own a home, and I don't believe in the term own until it's paid off. So like, I'm in the process of owning a home, but I wouldn't say there's a right answer for anybody. Like, so there are some people, it depends on what you want your life to look like. Okay. So like, and it depends on the home. It depends on your available time. It depends. All these things matter. So like, when you own an apartment, guess what you don't have to pay for? The roof when it leaks, like the plumbing. Like right now I have a leaky bathroom, and I'm like, a faucet in my bathtub, and I'm like scared to death because I I can do a lot of things. Plumbing's just not one of them. And I was like, frick, man. So now I got to call a plumber, which is like $5,000 an hour just to come to my door because trades are just hyperinflated at the moment. So all these things like,
and you know, plumbers, the work that they do, plumbers, electrician, it is
that'll be $600. They'll
Yeah.
swap a fitting.
yeah, it's not, you don't pay them for what they can do,
Yeah.
you pay them for what they know.
Yeah, you pay them for the years it took to learn to do it so efficiently. Yeah, no, I'm not totally dogging it. So, but they, so like those are things. So it sounds great when you're paying $1,100 a month or $1,200 a month. And you're like, oh, but I can get a house. My mortgage will be $750 or $800. Okay, so you're saving $300 a month or whatever. It's $3,000 a year, $3,600 a year. You just have to like, there are very real expenses that hit like to a house. And again, I'm not saying one way or the other. I would just say like, you know, I would much rather, I guess it's how much time do you want to spend either doing the work yourself or like that, or you do learn skill sets. There's just a lot of expenses that are slept on when you own a home. Like people don't talk about that. They always talk about how much money you can save owning versus renting. Even in the real estate investment groups we're in, they're like, the real money is not made in your cash flow. Like everyone thinks landlords, you pay $1,000 a month to a landlord and he's like pocketing $1,000.
Oh no.
His taxes, his all these things that go into the house.
One repair puts him back 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months, right? So like that, right? So those things, you know, come into play. They're making money on the equity.
Yeah.
Like really, like that's it. Like so, and that's where I think if you realize that, like over time, you know, like so my grandpa, Amanda's grandfather, like bought a house in the 50s for like 10 grand, you know, and he was like between like Detroit and Livonia, but like, you know, houses in the area where he was looking, they were easily going for 150, 170.
Yeah.
So that's the equity that's built over 30 years. Okay. So I wouldn't say it's like an all absolutely yes, absolutely no. If you're like a Rocket Mortgage broker and you work 70 hours a week and you have no time at home and like, you know, you just don't want to have to worry about anything. I don't know. Rental's not a bad gig. You know, the flexibility that comes with it. I mean, what if you're what if you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years?
Well, there is a psychological factor, in my opinion.
Sure.
That every day you go home and you're renting, it's not yours.
I 100% agree. You're right.
I mean,
I agree with that.
And I
agree with that. Yes, this isn't my home. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I went through that before, and luckily I was staying in a one of my cousins had a really big, nice house that I was staying for a while. And Dr. Elder, I know you're not on here, but amazing person. So I was staying in his house, and it was a really big house, really nice area. And I was next to other family members, and I couldn't ask for more than that. But there is something that when you go home every day that you know it doesn't belong to you, and everything that you do, every time you really clean up and it looks so nice, it's not yours.
It's that pride of ownership. Yeah. Even if and I will agree with that. Like, and that's why I see people like they've got, because everyone's buying different homes, but like you'll see like guys with a little starter home, like in Allen Park or Lincoln Park or wherever.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm so happy for them because like that's like a really big, that's a big fun moment, you know? And even though it may not be like, you know, because everyone's, you know, whatever their ideal home is, like that's awesome because like that, like you have that on. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
That portion I do is very valuable.
Yeah. And my sister posted a question. Shanaz is saying, don't buy until you're comfortable. And this was on my page, but yeah, you know, depending on what stage in life you're at, sometimes, most of the time, it's not a good idea to go all in and just, you know, to buy a house. You do have to be in a little bit of a position to make that move because it's not like, it's not just like a down payment and a monthly payment. There's a lot of financial added expenses that go into just getting into that process, you know, so. I agree. When it has to be right time for the right person at their stage in life.
One thing I wish I had been told, it's so simple. I swear I wish they would have told me this, is your mortgage should be no more than 25% of your take-home income. Like to put yourself like my first mortgage was like 45% of my take-home income.
Wow.
That's the house I ended up selling because I just couldn't afford it. Like for the next 30 years, like I just couldn't afford it. So you end up being house poor. So like if your goal should be to have that be no more whatever you pay for taxes and insurance.
Well, a mortgage company has that formula. I forget what that number is, but they say your total expenses cannot exceed a certain percentage of your total income.
Yeah, it depends depending on how they write mortgages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow I got approved for my first home at 45% of my take home. So we got 50 minutes. We got 50 minutes. We got a few minutes here. So, we got that one. I'd be curious to know this one for you. If you had to choose a hobby other than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what would it be?
Like
you have to.
Like a hobby?
Let's say, I'm not saying like you get injured, you can't train. Like let's say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't exist. Like the concept never existed. What would it be?
Like a physical hobby.
Whatever.
If it's not a physical hobby, it's learning
could be whatever.
Okay, if it's not physical, easy. Learning to play the piano.
The piano?
Yep.
What's stopping you?
Don't call me out like that.
I'm just like if I,
Don't call me out like
what I honestly want to learn.
I feel so guilty every freaking day.
I'm just saying like if that's something that you're interested in, like just get a little keyboard and start playing.
Yeah, playing the piano. If it wasn't something like a physical, because I got to do something physical, it would definitely be picking up the hobby of playing the piano.
I feel like we have a piano instructor. I feel like we at least know someone who could.
If there are any piano instructors in Metro Jiu-Jitsu in our team, I'm soliciting piano lessons. And I tried it before, but I had a bunch of stores at the time, and I was like,
it's definitely something that you gotta you have to intentionally carve out to make time for you.
Yeah.
Mine would be, this wouldn't be my answer, but
sorry to interrupt, but I don't know how to play the piano. Like
you want to learn? Like you want to learn and then play? Yeah.
I didn't play instruments when I was younger. I didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I just know the piano is going to be one thing that I would enjoy probably as much as jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So
mine wouldn't be. This wouldn't be my answer, but like Amanda and I were talking, and we got a couple weddings coming up. And like I was like, you know what, man, I'm sick of being like the gumpy white boy who doesn't know how to dance. Like I at least, other than the main songs, like I would like to like be able to actively dance a little bit with Amanda without looking awkward. Like it's not that I like want to enjoy dancing. I just don't want to look like a stork with a broken leg when I dance. So, but that wouldn't be my hobby. But that's just talking about like artistic.
Something you want to learn how to do.
Yeah, I think I'd want to learn that. I would love to learn another language, but I mean, I speak English. Most people have to learn our own language, so we're doing okay with that.
When Jabril or my kids get married, you're gonna come to the wedding. Have you been to an Arabic wedding?
No, but you guys are doing like flips and stuff. Like I literally saw guys do it like in a circle, doing backflips, and I'm like, I'm just not,
bro,
like, be able to hang.
At weddings, it's like an unwritten law. It's like the more you dance, because the night of conception, that's usually when that night or after that week or whatever. But like the more the man dances, the more stamina it shows he has.
Oh wow!
So you got to be dancing all night long. But at Japan,
I'd be the first one out, man. I'd be like, I just like because dancing is exhausting, and I like sweat kind of easy. Yeah. So I'm not like, now I'm in like a 3-piece suit and I'm like all hot and sweaty, and I gotta like I gotta go sit down. Like I'm not like, I'm good for like a few songs, you know. I just want like, if something comes on and I want to dance with Amanda, I just don't want to look like, every other white boy who doesn't know how to dance. Like, and the most of them don't. And you see one guy with even a little bit of moves, you're like, oh, that guy looks good. And he probably took like 3 weeks for the dance lessons. It's not, I don't think it's difficult. I just think it's like,
Yeah.
where am I going to go make time for dance classes?
Well, I mean, as big as you are,
Yeah.
you definitely will stand out a little bit if you're not in tune with the beats.
Yeah, no, it's you ever seen the jerk with Steve Martin?
I think so.
And he's like trying to like clap along. He was raised by like a Southern family. He's like trying to clap, and he's off the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what I look like when I dance.
Yeah.
Like
well, I think we definitely have to give you at least like a 3-day Arabic dance tutorial before my kid's wedding.
Something, yeah. Like it's already gonna be. I'll be about 30 years behind everyone else.
Yeah.
So 3 days would be helpful.
No, we can get you up to speed.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get you up to speed.
Good to know.
We got time for another one?
We do. So someone says you can tune a piano, you can't tune a fish. Rocky. I wish I'd finished reading it before I put the pun on the screen. I don't know who that is. That's got to be Chad. It's got to be Chad. We got time for one more.
All right.
The lineage, man, that's getting nerdy with it. The jiu-jitsu lineage is horse breeding in martial arts. That's jiu-jitsu lineage in a nutshell. You want to go into that? What's jiu-jitsu lineage?
Is that our last one?
Yeah. Well, last one. If we have time, I want to get to that one, but we may not have time. But we'll do the lineage thing. What is lineage? What is jiu-jitsu lineage?
Lineage is who's your instructor, simply put. Okay.
But more, go further.
Who's your instructor?
Mm-hmm.
Who did they train under? And who did they train under? And who did they train under? Right.
To get to where?
Ultimately, like to Hilo Gracie.
How are you literally it's like, how are you, you ever seen A Knight's Tale?
Yeah.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need you to prove who you are. Like, and so like the one character makes these fake records of like how we go back and how he's connected to royal bloodline.
Yeah.
That's my issue with lineage, bro.
Okay.
And I get it. Like, trust me, I get it, because there is like fake jiu-jitsu. Not all jiu-jitsu is created equal. You that authenticity, but like, how when you get into, oh well, I'm only 2 steps removed from Helio and he's 4 steps removed from Helio, so it's horse breeding.
Okay, but does it matter for the new person coming in?
Not at all.
In your lineage?
0%.
Okay.
And I will go on record and irritate every Brazilian. 0%. How close you are to Helio Gracie plays 0% on your jiu-jitsu.
What I would say as far as your lineage goes is the closer it is. Like if I told you who my grandfather was, not great-grandfather was, like the connection between me and him and how I live my life, 2 different times, 2 different eras, the world was a completely different place. What matters is who my dad was, because I basically studied directly under my dad. So when people ask about lineage and who your lineage is, they obviously don't know much about jiu-jitsu, but what's important to know is who the person that you're learning from and you're under, what impact are they making in the jiu-jitsu community today is going to tell you more about lineage. So when you ask about lineage and they ask about like who you under and stuff like that, the 3-4 people above, they don't really matter right now. What matters is who is our mentor? Who are we studying under? Who's influencing mine and your decision to make the
your
podcast?
Immediate coach? Like, so who's your coach?
Yeah. Your immediate coach, and maybe right above them. But what's important to say is like, who is a standard for me in our competition team? Who's a standard for me in making sure we have a certain type of culture in jiu-jitsu? That's Danny Alvarez and Bruno Bastos.
Yeah.
And as we make friends inside the network, there's other local school owners that also influence us. So it's not about who'd you learn under, it's about who you're surrounding yourself around.
I'm going to answer. That's a good question. So we actually, just to let you play, and correct me if I'm wrong, when we changed affiliations to Professor Danny, Professor Alvarez, we actually moved further away from the original Helios Gracie. If because I believe it went Danny Blanky Salo. Like we were like 5 branches away.
Yeah.
And then I think we went like because we didn't care. It was who we wanted to follow as our immediate coach, like which is exactly what Coach Mohammad's saying. So we moved further away because it really doesn't matter.
We did, but there's something to be noted that we're under Danny Alvarez right now, right?
Yep.
Danny Alvarez is half the size of Bruno Bastos, he's a gorilla. He's a giant.
It literally is.
He is a giant.
Yeah.
But I swear he's the nicest man.
Yeah.
I never would have thought about it.
He's intimidating. He's intimidating.
His
like
size,
on social.
His look is intimidating, but he's the nicest human being. But he started training jiu-jitsu when he was 4 years old. He was in Brazil and he came here like 15 years ago or 20 years ago, but he came directly from the source. So I'd have to ask him and say, the lineage thing, where do you fall in? Who are you under or whatever? So we might be even closer than we thought than before.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If someone asked me like obviously we're with team lead, Professor Bruno, someone asked me my coach though, my coach is Coach Danny
Alvarez,
and Danny Alvarez. But
yeah.
Someone said, is there a difference for the term coach versus professor? I mean, professor is pretty much black. Like you can't black belt. Like it's like you can't really call a brown belt a professor.
Yeah. Someone puts in 14, 15 years in studying something and it's literally like surgery. If you walk into a room and somebody's heart is open and you have doctors meticulously working on every nerve, every artery and all that stuff. It's surgery what we do with the body and the mind. So in my opinion, anybody who has a black belt, unless they don't want to be called that, they should be called professor.
Yep. So that's the difference. Good question. I don't know who that is. Facebook user. So that's it, man. That's it. We'll save this question for that's a longer question. We'll save that for the next one. So
what we'll answer next week, you guys could think about it. And David and I talk about this all the time. Is college worth the tuition? That's definitely going to be one of our next subjects.
Anyone who knows me already knows my answer, but stay tuned next week and you'll find out. All right, guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Post your question. If you have any other questions, post them in the group. When you see this, if you're seeing this on YouTube or you see the YouTube link, go ahead and subscribe. We don't bite. We put out great shorts. Coach Christian does awesome things like that. And honestly, really helps us out with our with getting more members on that team. So
more importantly, if you're not training jiu-jitsu or you haven't been into the gym, don't talk about it. Be about it. Get your butt into the gym.
I agree. Yeah. You can only follow for so long, and then there's a point where like, how long are you going to be a fan before you be a practitioner? Right. Sooner the better. So, all right, guys. Coach David and Coach Mohammad, as always, we'll see you on the mats.
Let's see who else I